Bill Henson lives and works in a world within a world, a retreat of quiet contemplation and dark imaginings.
You know, art is artifice. It really does come down to what's in your imagination. It comes down to, you know, how you feel about things and not necessarily understanding that, because meaning comes from feeling, not the other way around.
It's a rarefied place of classical art, music and books, but paradoxically, much of Bill Henson's work is gritty, visceral, and sometimes quite troubling.
When a work's beautiful, I think it's almost as though it is a force for good, because it's life-affirming. It does bring that empathy out of people, but it can also be disconcerting. You know, it can also be confronting.
So this is where all the drama happens, Bill?
Well, it's really quite calm.
Henson's work is collected around the world. He is fiercely admired and by some, just as fiercely criticised. But a missing element of the public discussion around Bill Henson is the quiet devotion of a large and loyal group of once child models. You've worked with a lot of models over a long period of time, and many of them for many, many years. In a sense, you sort of charted their lives. Do you know what they get from the experience? Do they ever tell you how they experience all of this?
I get the sense that the experience was empowering, that they take great pride. I've been told in as many words that it's a sense of great pride, sometimes by the parents rather than the now adults.
Henson is unconcerned with reality. Unlike many photographers, he's not documenting the world around him.
Photography is the most profoundly contradictory of mediums to my mind, because you have to hang on to that veracity, that dumb literalness. And yet, I often say it's what goes missing in the shadows that animates the speculative capacity. It is not reality, it is a complete construction.
But the artifice of his constructed worlds still didn't protect him from one of this country's most bitter art controversies, the police raid on his 2008 exhibition at Sydney's Roslyn Oxley Gallery.
The items seized 20 photos of a naked 13-year-old girl by high-profile artist Bill Henson.
It's likely that we will proceed to prosecution.
I find them absolutely revolting. Kids deserve to have the innocence of their childhood protected.
Freedom is a very precious thing. And before we have policemen tramping through art galleries, tramping through libraries, we've got to think. Freedom is what makes this country great.
No charges were laid, and Henson remains unapologetic.
The experience only strengthened and sharpened previously held convictions. Nothing else changed at all, because I, for better or worse, believe in the pictures. I have a good relationship with the people that I've worked with over decades, and I've seen nothing to sort of make me change my mind.
Did you then, or do you now, understand the discomfort that some people feel at some of those works?
Oh, of course, but it's not something I'm thinking about when I'm working. I think the only way pictures become great is through empathy, and you must be sensitive to what's going on around you. And it's one of the interesting things about going through 2008 is you learn that it's very important not to harden up, not to develop a tough exterior. That's one of the lessons that comes out of it, because of course, you're likely to be less sensitive to the beauty and complexity of the world around you if you do that.
So these are all the images that you're going to be using in the catalogue for the National Gallery of Victoria. And here, I mean, are some really famous images, and also a young woman, who's featured in your work, well, since she was how old?
Well, since she was born, really. I mean, not in my work so much, but documented in a way.
Because she's your goddaughter.
Yeah, it's one of our godchildren.
Longtime Henson model Alice Haywood now lives and works as a dancer in Berlin. Speaking publicly for the first time about the images, she's scornful of the criticism of Kevin Rudd and others.
Really stupid, to be honest, yeah. Basically stupid. I was under 18 and I gave informed consent. And the proposal that Bill is making, I don't think that it's a dangerous one at all.
Alice Hayward is surprised that Henson's work sparks controversy.
I think that they're dealing with like notions of beauty that aren't like new or unrecognizable anyway. So the discomfort is basically, I think, on the level of dealing with nudity.
So Bill, after all these years, why are you still overwhelmingly preoccupied with this age, the age of pubescence, of puberty?
I think that it's become for me a kind of floating world. You know, we have an exponential growth in body and in mind, a rapidly increasing independence from our parents at that age. We're no longer an extension of our mother's hand. And along with that comes an increase in experimentation, an increase in self-examination, and it's a potential for things to go well or badly. And so it just strikes me as a tremendously dynamic and interesting space.
And can you imagine a time when you'd ever be finished with this?
No, it's endlessly interesting, but you know, I think if you did a head count of images over the last 40 years, you'd find it's still only a small part of it.
Yes, these can be really difficult pieces to look at. These are children. They're naked, they're stained, and some of them even look like they're in distress. But Bill Henson's asking us to do something that we don't easily manage these days, and that is to hold two conflicting ideas in our mind at the same time. One is they can be deeply disturbing images, but the second is that they're also at the same time beautifully wrought and very affecting works of art.
It gets down to this thing, you know, and you hear this, what I call cartoon rhetoric, you know, you're with us, you're against us, good versus evil, it's got to be right or wrong. And that is not the way life is. When it comes down to it, art is about the priority of individual experience. You go on the journey, there's no correct way of listening to Mozart or no correct way of looking at Rembrandt, there's only your way. And that's the path that people have to go on. And hopefully, you know, it takes them to interesting places, you know, within their own imagination.